Hello and welcome fans and friends, my name is Super 8-Bit Ben and I'm excited to bring to you today a video that I've been working on for a very long time. Unfortunately it would have came out a lot earlier, but I was actually busy with my birthday weekend slash pretty much week in general. I was actually with my friend Matthew for basically the whole weekend and a couple of extra other days, so I was pretty busy. I didn't want to be unsociable with him, and you might as well be enjoying yourself while you have your friends around. But anyway, I've been working on this video in the background for the past week or so. It's about 20 minutes long and I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm sorry I don't have a hat and time style intro like I did last time, but this is just taking too long to get made, so I'm also going to have to go back to using Movie Maker because I noticed that the frame rate can be a little bit strange due to the rendering that was used in Vegas 14, which is a new software I got. So yeah, I'm gonna have to use that for overlays and stuff like that instead. But I hope you guys can find this perfectly watchable, and I promise you that these levels are like 4 times better, bigger, amazing than what you actually saw before. Okay, so to start off with, we have the balloons and fire time rift level. Now, this isn't that much longer than the ones I've shown you before, but it certainly has some unique ideas and unique challenges that I haven't seen before, such as trying to get through these little fire gaps. It is a little bit hard to get past those things though without getting hurt, and there's very little room for error, so I'm not sure whether or not that's actually a problem, but I mean they could maybe adjust some things so that you don't bump into the fire so easily. I had to do a jump cut there because I must have fallen. And in this section you have to use the Dweller's Mask, which obviously lets you make a solid platform. Some spiders here. I almost fell there, but thankfully I recovered and just jumping on balloons here, or whatever you call those bag things, so I can get across. Just have to avoid some hazards and stuff like that. Now in this footage there might be some things missing because I had to do a couple of obviously jump cuts and stuff like that. There may be a coin underneath where Hat Girl might have actually jumped there, just to let you know. There might be a bad guy here and there that might be missing from this footage, but in general this level isn't that difficult to get through. There's sections like this that are a little bit hard to master because you have no platforms to fall on other than the mushrooms, and they're very small and precise, but I do highly recommend the level. Of course you saw that I've actually managed to beat it. It did take a couple of attempts to get through the level, but it wasn't the most difficult thing ever. Next up we have the amazing Subcon Castle. If it wasn't for the level that comes after this, this would have been my top favorite level so far. This level is huge. It it feels very well thought out, in the sense that everything makes sense in the level, and that it is a bit difficult and you will die a lot in it, but it does feel like one of the official levels from the game, if not just a little bit harder. It is obviously modeled after the final level in A Hat in Time, and they've really utilized the elements in the game extremely well, where nothing feels out of place. The only thing is timing and stuff like that might be hard to fully utilize. I can tell here that they weren't maybe able to properly time the bullets, so that you maybe had some time to jump between the gaps and then obviously avoid the bullets at the same time. This next part gets really intense because you have all these bombs flying all over the place, and it's really hard to avoid them because there's loads of smoke everywhere, and you will more than likely get hurt here no matter how hard you try, which is also another problem, is having too many of those things, and it's too much that it actually covers up what you see. But once you get past, everything's clear again, and you'll be looking around for a fair bit here, but you'll obviously find your path forward. And yeah, I mean, this is something that it's kind of like one of those parts in the review where I was discussing you kind of have to think about how you're going to get around the level. Sometimes you have to look around for a bit to find another way to get forward, and this level kind of almost recreates that sort of aspect really well. Here we have a bit where there's a bunch of fire exploding birds, which obviously you need to avoid, and it's not that hard to get past here. So again, more sort of running around and more obstacles to avoid. There isn't that much else I could really mention about this level. We're almost finishing up here. It isn't a very long level. You will die a lot though, so that will extend the amount of time you'll be trying to beat this level. This final part can be quite difficult, but as long as you have good timing, you should be able to get past it fairly easily. And obviously, you know, depth of distance is obviously important to have, and this game kind of nails that on the head, because I mean, not many games can make it easy for you to like jump onto another platform, but with the handling in this game, it's pretty spot on. So we just have to be very careful in this bit, because you can get past without getting hit. Very difficult to time that one because there's so many bullets at once and it is kind of hard to avoid. In this part I was having a bit of difficulty finding my way forward, but then I kind of, you know, started to look up and I was like, oh, there's actually a hook, and you'll notice that I've kind of noticed that in the moment. There you go. And so then I get across to the final part and I just about avoid those huge bullets that almost got me, but because I'm super MLG, they will never get me. I've just kind of skimmed past everything, but yeah. And yeah, I got the wool ball, or well, it's not the wool ball, but like the timepiece from this one, and I really enjoyed this level in general. It actually would have been my favourite, but then 2 levels after this one, or 1 level after this one, is going to be even better level. Here we have the Gearway Inc. level, which is also really impressive and very expansive and actually very challenging as well. I absolutely love the challenging levels and the very sort of big and detailed worlds that some people have imagined. Must have spent at least a couple of days on, as I mentioned for the last level. This one's pretty cool because you're having to like platform around a bunch of gears and stuff, hence the name Gear Inc. And basically you just kind of do that. It reminds me a bit of Tick-Tock Clock from Mario 64, which, you know, is kind of a very difficult level, but because I've already done that sort of thing before thanks to Tick-Tock Clock, I didn't find it that difficult to stay on the gears. Eventually I found out that I was actually supposed to climb onto a hook shot here, so I got across. Then here we basically we'll have to hook onto more hook shots just to get across. There's plenty of hook shots in all these fan levels, but this one, you know, you use it a lot to get around in particular. And I had to turn into the witch's hat to explode this box. I'm not sure what was inside it, we'll see in a moment. Pretty sure it's just a coin, as usual. And no, it's actually a wool ball. Okay, but at this point I'm actually pretty much maxed out, well, not really maxed out with wool balls, but I actually don't need them anymore as I have all the hats, so it isn't that useful to really have those in the levels, for the fan levels in particular. So I'm pretty sure by the time you're going to be playing fan levels, you're probably already like 100% of the game. But it's good to see that plenty of people are putting time in to, you know, provide their own version of a Hat in Time, where, you know, there's some ideas that weren't in the original game. I think it's very cool that you can kind of think outside the box when it comes to being creative and whatever. I know it sounds like I'm probably like rambling about, you know, the creativity in these levels, but there really isn't that much else I can really talk about because there's so much imagination that goes into these. And like, honestly, I honestly wonder how sections like this come about in someone's mind, or did they just spend a lot of like trial and error trying to figure out what routes would be fun, whatever. In this section we need to avoid the shocker squids because obviously they will hurt us. You could jump on top of them and destroy them basically and they won't hurt you again. And then you will hook on to the hook shots again to get to some other gears. There's a lot of gears in this level, probably the most I've seen in any level. Obviously it's called Gear Inc. and I think they've really utilized the gears in a really smart way because that's basically the whole level of moving like platforms, which are the gears. So we're just going across yet again on the hook shots and moving on to yet more gears, and this bit isn't too difficult as long as you don't fall into the gaps. You may fall off pretty easily in this part because they seem to be moving a lot more quickly than the other ones, Then we'll go on again to more hook shots. There's a lot of hook shots in this level, but I actually quite like hook shots. They're quite fun to swing on. In this part I was just kind of figuring out what to do, and I figured that you just need to kind of jump over this gap and obviously try to avoid that guy there, because he actually will run after you. In this part I was having a bit of difficulty getting past it because I didn't realize there was a little entrance on the left hand side there, so I actually tried to like jump and then get on top of it or something. But then eventually I kind of realized that there actually is a little entrance, so that wasn't that straightforward. It isn't that visible and obvious, but obviously I was able to get past this bit fairly quickly. It wasn't that much trial and error of trying to figure out what to do. So we just destroy some boxes to get past, and then you have to jump up this section, which was a little bit difficult. It took a couple of attempts for me to get up there because there's like a small sort of platform you can jump onto, and then obviously you get onto like the main platform. I then move on to the gear here, or cog. I think I should have been calling these cogs the whole time, but yeah, they're gears or cogs. And then that will move you up to the next platform or hook shot if there is one. I got a little bit confused there. I'm on the right path now. I had gone on the one to the side for some reason by accident, but don't worry, we're still on track here, and this bit can be a little bit difficult because there's a lot of distance that you have to sort of get across. And then there's this gear that actually knocked me off the first time I actually got to it, but then I obviously knew what to do whenever I got back, and it's just a lot of timing in this part. We're almost there, and we'll see what happens here. I know that I accidentally didn't get the coin that was underneath. I actually went straight for the timepiece, and I feel a bit stupid for that, but I'm not going to be replaying this entire level just to get that. But you get that that's there. I really enjoyed this level, and then we're going to be moving on to my most favorite level, which is Her Dream. Now this is what I call a level, and it actually reminds me a lot of a game that I absolutely loved growing up with called Toy Story 2 Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue. If you haven't played that one, it's also on the Nintendo 64 and it's practically the same game. It's just a little bit different graphically, but that obviously brought back a little bit of nostalgia when I was playing this level, because it takes place at first in a kitchen, and this is a bit trippy because you change between a kitchen to a different area to another different area, and obviously it's supposed to be like sort of a dream sequence. Now I do notice that some of the textures in this level are a little bit off, and I think that might be fixed with a future update. So yeah, I haven't seen anything like this before in any other fan level or in the game itself. I obviously think this is the entirely original level. It also reminds me a lot of Chibi Robo that was on the GameCube. Not many people know about that one, but it also kind of took place in a house where you're a tiny robot. Then we move on to the next section, which is something I'm not quite sure to describe. It's sort of more of like a hallway, and then obviously that's just an in-between section that leads you on to the next big section. I would say this level has three large sections. There's the kitchen, then there's this sort of a skyland, and then the last one is sort of a weird all I can really describe it is 80s synthwave, but we'll get to that eventually. In this part of the level we have to gather a couple things so that we can unlock a portal to the next part. I noticed that there was a collectible over here, so I went over there and grabbed it. It was a coin. And like the music choice is very fitting for this level. It sort of gives that sort of 80s synthwave, and that's kind of what I was describing with like the final level. The final part of this level looks a bit like Tron, and we will get to that in a moment. But we're going to go to one of the main sections of this part of the section. It's a section within a section, so it's a section. But this part of the level actually reminds me a lot of the Alpine Skyway level, or whatever it was called in this Hat in Time game. I don't know how to talk today. But yeah, then we'll move on to the next part so we can unlock the other part of the key to get to the portal. This part was a bit difficult and it took many retakes. There's this bit here that moves a lot. I don't think that's what caused me to die a lot, but in a moment I may recall why I had so much difficulty with this. I think it may have been this section here where you had to use the Dweller's Mask to make the solid platforms. This was what I was having difficulty with. You had to jump and then grab onto the hook shot, which is not something you would have done automatically the first time you play this part of the level, unless you somehow see the hook shot. And then we grab the other part of the key. I mean, it is really just crowns. You need a certain amount of crowns to unlock the portal to get to the next section. So yeah, we're just kind of making our way back now without falling, hopefully, and then we'll get to the portal I was talking about there now. We're going to use a hook shot to get to it right now, and then we'll be able to finally get past this part. It wasn't that unenjoyable, it's just a little bit difficult. Gosh, I almost fell off there, but I managed to get the coin, and obviously I was getting that coin on purpose. So then we're going to go down, and then oh, what's happening here? Oh yeah. Okay, so this is a bit that comes between, this is an art in between bit that goes from here to the sort of neon Tron style stage. You finally get the access to the key and then move on. Now this bit was really weird and unexpected, and also very sort of long distance, so you need to use your vehicle, which I think I unlock in a moment. But I figured, you know, what's going to go on here. There's this really long section where you're just kind of rolling around, rolling forward, and then rolling some more, and eventually you get to the center of it's kind of like a little bit of a hub area where you will return to here. And this bit was weird because I wasn't expecting what was about to happen next. Now in this bit I would have had that JonTron what bit, but like I didn't expect to like not fall there. Like I thought I was about to fall, and then obviously you get that sometimes in games where they trick you, but I honestly had to like laugh for a second, and yeah, that was a bit of crazy sort of leap of faith. But here's the hub area that I was talking about. You will return to here once you beat each section, and yeah. So we managed to jump over those box things, and then I had to do a time skip there because I may have fallen somehow. Obviously I have such amazing MLG skills that I never fall, but something must have happened. But yeah, we also had to do yet another sort of leap of faith to get that crime, because you don't realise that there's no platform there. So I'm backtracking just to get back to the hub area, and then we obviously move on to the second section in a moment. It takes a while to get around this part because there's such a large amount of distance between the things that you unlock and whatever. I don't know how to describe this part, it's just weird. And I honestly have never seen these platforms in the game at any point in the main game. These may have been some like beta elements, or someone may have changed a property or two to make this sort of cool neon effect. And here's where the level, you know, kind of truly shines, is the fact that it hides these little platforms around corners, because everything is black, and this is like so weird and trippy. But it makes you kind of think for a moment. Okay, there's no possible way you can go forward unless you look left and right and see, oh, there's yet another platform around the corner somewhere. Over here, this is a bit of a very tricky bit, but you should be able to like jump across, then do a sort of dive bonk, whatever you call it, so that you can climb up. And this bit here is also a bit misleading because you need to go into a hook shot, and you didn't see any other hook shots around. So yeah, that little section is a bit fun and a little bit different. Don't imagine I'll see something like that again unless someone really, you know, tries to like remake this and like make it into a super challenge of some sort. So then we move on to basically the last section where I actually had to do a bit of a jump cut because I was actually walking around doing something pointless, and yeah, basically it was nothing important or anything that you need to see. It was just me being stupid. So I will use that moving hook shot to get to the next part, and then use another hook shot to jump in to the portal. And there you have it. This is the last part of the level of the timepiece. I thought this level was absolutely outstanding. Okay guys, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, but only do that if you want to.